So let's talk about pens for the Supernote tablets. Now I have 4 pens for my Supernote tablets, and I want to talk about the pros and the cons for each pen and why I think the Lamy Safari Vista is the best pen that there is. I also want to offer a suggestion for a pen design that I hope that Rada would consider in the future, probably far future, especially if they ever design a handheld tablet. But let's not get ahead of ourselves here. And full disclosure, Rada sent me the Manta as well as these 2 pens here, the Lamy and the Sumurai Pen. And in terms of how I use the Supernote tablets, I use them for script writing, taking notes, planning out ideas for my other YouTube channels. So first let's talk about the Lamy pen here. I mentioned this in a previous video. I think this is the best pen that they currently have available right now. It's a little pricey, but I think it's absolutely worth it. Now in terms of looks, like I said, this pen is not a looker. It kind of reminds me of a Toyota Prius. Doesn't really look great, but could save you a lot of money, and utility wise it's amazing. Now the more that I've written with the A6X and the Manta with this pen, the more I found that actually weight is way more important than aesthetics. And while some may feel it's kind of plasticky and it feels very cheap, I actually think it adds a lot to my own personal writing experience. Now I know that some people are looking for the perfect writing experience to replicate paper, and that's the reason why they're looking at these types of devices, because they want it to feel like a notebook. But the thing is, if that's your goal, I think there's a lot of focus on what tablet do I buy, where actually I think it comes down a lot more to the pen. In fact, that's what is connecting your hand to whatever the surface is. So I think this actually plays a lot more important role in terms of the writing experience, the feel of the paper, than maybe even more so the material that you're writing on. Because when I pick up any of these other pens, they're relatively heavy. And unless you write with a fountain pen or one of those really big, heavy metal pens, you're not used to writing with something as heavy. When I pick up the Lamy pen, this reminds me of like a regular pen in terms of the weight. Because for my job, I use primarily ballpoint pens, and they feel more like this and less like this. So when I'm using the other pens, it sort of takes me out of that writing experience, because I'm not used to, in my everyday life, writing with something as heavy. And another point of consideration in terms of weight, and especially the way that I write, is I notice that as I'm writing, I don't write flat. Like I don't write with a tablet flat on the table and I'm writing like this. Most of the time, I'd say almost all the time, I'm writing like at an angle. Like I'm either holding the device in my hand and I'm jotting down notes, or I'm thinking of ideas, or I'm sitting down and maybe I'll have my knees up, and then like with the A5X2 with the Manta, I'll have that kind of on my knees tilted. And so my pen is angled somewhat differently than straight down, and I think as it's angled like this, I feel like more of the weight is going onto my hand rather than if I was writing straight down, where you're really using gravity a whole lot more, and I feel like the weight is just more perpendicular with the table. Now maybe weight is not important to you, but to me, as someone who writes a lot and I write long sessions, weight is extremely important. Now I do want to talk about some of the physical features of this pen. Hopefully you can see that as I try to hide my face here. There are some unique features. Again, aesthetically, this is not great, but I just wanted to point this out in case you don't get a chance to actually try this pen out for yourself. Now there's 2 distinct features to me besides the actual weight of this pen. The first is up on this side. There's some indentations here, some like grooves and some angles, and then there's some angles back here. So just some comments on how this works for my particular hand. The grooves up in the front, the angles up in the front, it's very comfortable for my pointer finger and my middle finger knuckle. So what I mean by that is the way that I hold the pen right here, this finger right here, extremely comfortable. And then I guess the way that I hold it my knuckle for my middle finger right here, it rests on the opposite side of this pen in those little grooves, in those little crevices, and that makes it extremely comfortable. Now, on the back end, you got these longer sort of angles here on the shaft of the pen. I guess that's the technical term, I'm not sure. But it does make it extremely comfortable for the thumb, as well as resting up here in the, I'm gonna say it's the crux of my fingers, but that's probably not the right term. But right here where the pen goes, I'm sort of exaggerating this here, but right here. So when the pen rests right there, that little angle makes it extremely comfortable, especially in comparison to the other pens. Now, I will say that I wouldn't have recommended this pen when I first started my Supernote journey back with the A6X. I think they had Lamy pens available, but I just thought, why would I want one? They look horrible. But I have changed my mind about it. Again, I think I mentioned in a previous video, it was like a green eggs and ham moment for me when I tried this pen, and I'm very grateful that they sent it to me, because there's no way I would have bought it for myself. It's sort of risky to try it and buy it and then like, oh no, I got this ugly looking pen that I don't ever use. But don't let the aesthetics fool you on this one. And I know the Heart of Metal or the metal pens get a lot of the attention because look-wise, they look amazing and they absolutely function well, and a lot of good things about those pens. But just saying, as someone who is a long time Supernote user, it was just night and day when I was so used to, especially to this Heart of Metal 1 pen. And then I tried this. I could not believe how much better this felt. In fact, this is so good, I'm considering buying a second one and placing it right here with my A6X. All right, next I want to talk about the Sumurai Pen. And Rada sent me this one with the whole set that they sent me. I'm very grateful for it because I wanted to give it a try. In terms of aesthetics, this is probably the nicest pen that they make. I mean, it looks real nice. It has this gunmetal look and it just screams professional. However, if you're not used to writing with heavier pens, fountain pens, more professional pens, to me, I would skip on this one. I know it's really tempting to get this, and maybe it's better than like the little click pen that they offer now. But to me, in terms of the weight, it's just way too heavy. Now, just comparing these two pens in particular, the Lamy pen is a little bit shorter, making the Sumurai a little bit longer, but you'll notice that the grip area for your front fingers, or you see your thumb and forefinger, it's shorter than what the Lamy provides here. I mean, the pen is smooth all the way around, which makes it look very nice, but there's nothing to grab onto. Even up here, it's all smooth. Now, this pen could get you in the mood to want to write. If holding a nice looking pen gets you in the mood, then it may be worth it. Frankly, I think this pen is way too formal for the things that I'm doing, which is, again, primarily scripts or note-taking. I'm not really trying to impress anyone. I don't use this at work. This is strictly for my YouTube stuff. So I'm writing on my own, and you bring out a pen like this, and it's like, whoa, it's a very nice pen, but you're just jotting down little notes. So I recommend the Sumurai Pen if you're looking for a good-looking pen, beautiful design, just nice color, for maybe more formal occasions like work or office spaces, things like that. But if you're just going to be at home casually, I don't know, I just think this is a little bit too much. Again, it doesn't pay off to me because of the weight. Okay, the next pen I want to talk about is the Heart of Metal 1 pen. I know they had Heart of Metal 2, but I bought this way back with my A6X, and this is the pen that I've been using for years, and I'm really glad that I bought it because the stock pen, as I will discuss in a little bit, is not very good. Now, compared to the Sumurai Pen, this one is actually a little bit shorter, but the distinct features to me are the butt of the pen here on the bottom. It's more rounded, but this little forefinger grip in the front area, this part right here, it has grooves. Hopefully you can see that it has grooves cut in, whereas the Sumurai Pen does not have these little extra grooves. It just sort of adds something when you're holding the pen, something for your fingers to feel. I actually like that, but I do like the length being shorter, and the weight is also significantly, to me, less, or at least noticeable, than the Sumurai Pen. So that's definitely a nice thing, because to me, weight is extremely important. This is my second favorite pen, and I think they did a really great job with this design. Again, this is the Heart of Metal 1 pen. Now this is still on my A6X, but I may end up replacing it if I buy a second Lamy Safari Vista. All right, now last I want to talk about the stock pen, and maybe they don't even offer this anymore, but I thought I would mention it. This was the stock pen that I got with my A6X way long time ago. This pen is not very good. I'm not even sure if Supernote makes it. I don't even see any of their logos or anything on this pen, but I do want to mention it. The only good thing I could think of this pen was that the cap on the pen is extremely short, whereas a lot of the other pens, it's like a third of the whole pen. So it's nice that the caps are short on this one. They also give you a replacement cap, so in case you lose it. But besides that, there's really a lot of problems, I think, with this pen. The first is that weight of this pen is way too heavy for what it is. It looks like a cheaper pen, and you would equate that with being lighter, but actually this thing, it weighs quite a bit, and I feel like the balance is just off with this pen. The second thing is that, I don't know if you can tell, but the way that the shaft of the pen is designed, it has just some weird curves to it. And then lastly, on the tip of the pen, you can see here, hopefully you can see, can you see? Okay, there you go. The tip is transparent, which is interesting, but I don't really want to see this coils at the end. It just makes it look very cheap, and I would have preferred if they took that out. Again, I'm really glad that I opted to buy the Heart of Metal 1 pen when I bought my A6X, because I just could not use this pen, and it was really ruining my experience when I started out with the A6X, and I thought, oh no, this feels horrible. I don't want to write with this. But then once I started writing with the Heart of Metal, it made the experience a whole lot better. And so again, I think that proves the point of the pen actually is extremely important. Unfortunately, there's no way for people to try, and so you're just gonna have to buy and try, and if you want to return it, you can, but it could be complicated. And so to me, I think it's just worth trying it if you can try the Lamy pen, because of the weight. Okay, now new pen idea. And I don't want to presume anything from Rada. I know that they're working hard on what they're working hard on. They just released the Manta, and the last thing I think they want to think about is, oh my gosh, we're gonna have to create new things. So I'm not here to do that. I really do believe they should make a handheld, almost a phone-sized device, and you could take notes on it. That would be absolutely incredible. But I do hope that in the future, rather than focus more so on some of these heavier pens or fancier, more formal pens, I actually hope that they go the opposite direction and try for minimal, try for light, just something really small. So I bought this pen at a Japanese stationery store, and if you're familiar with those stores in Japan, there's so many pens and very neat things that we don't really have here in the US. And when I saw this pen, I loved it. It's so simple. It's like a single clicker. Yeah, it's just so thin. It looks like a replacement capsule that you hold, like the pen replacement thing, but it's actually a pen. You just click it off the back and boom, it just goes. I wish they would make a pen like this. I'm sure they could probably design something like this, because if you're gonna have a small handheld device one day, possibly, you're gonna need a nice light pen. It just would feel weird to have like a heavy pen. And even if you're not, I think that this is the way to go. If they designed a Supernote pen like this simple, this light, I might buy 2 or 3 of them just so that I could have them. Now the weakness of this one, of course, is that there's no cap. So in terms of trying to hook it up to your device, it would not work. And I guess that's really the downside of this design. But I'm just saying, in terms of usability, in terms of how light it is, I love this. And boy, this, oh, so light, almost dropped it. But I think this type of design would be a real winner. So I hope that you enjoyed this discussion. I know talking about pens, it may not seem very important, as everyone is really excited about the A5X2 Manta or Nomad or whatever other tablets may come out in the future. A lot of the focus is on that hardware, but actually having tried now these two that were sent to me, and now that I have all 4 of these, I'm realizing that actually the pen plays a very significant role in the writing experience, and I think people who may not like the experience, well, they may consider getting a different pen. Now, to be fair, when choosing the right pen, my best advice is to simply try them all. I know that's expensive, but that's really the only way that you'll know which is the best pen for you, because picking a pen is extremely subjective because it's based off of feel, and how people feel is different for everyone. Now, I think most people are probably just gonna buy the harder metal pen. It makes the most sense because it's the nicest looking pen. But I would highly, highly recommend giving this a shot. And maybe it's hard to take someone's advice. You don't know me and you don't know my whole experience. But I think that most people, and maybe this doesn't apply to some people out there, I'm just saying most people, I think over time, when they start writing with these, yeah, it's gonna feel really great for a while. But you don't know what you're missing out by not trying this Lamy pen. It's so much lighter. It feels, yeah, like plasticky, but it feels like a real pen. So as you're writing, because it weighs like a similar weight to a regular pen, to me it tricks your mind, and you are more immersed in that writing experience. Like, this is so much closer to that experience because it's so light. And maybe it's one of those things that people just have to learn on their own, and they can't take that recommendation. And I completely understand, because when I first started the A6X all those years ago when I bought it, no one could have convinced me that this pen was good because of how it looked. However, I'm just here to offer that if I was to buy a new pen like today, and it's hard because you can't try any of these, but I'm just saying, like, if these were all offered to me today and I was looking at my Supernote Manta and I was like, okay, what am I going to write with, I'd pick this one. And like I said, I'm considering buying a second one for my A6X because I think it's that good. But good luck out there if you're shopping for pens. I highly recommend the Lamy, but I'm sure whatever you find will work out great. Thanks for watching.